All right, what's happening, y'all? It's your boy Rico from RicoScores, and as y'all already know, I already did an entire breakdown on what happened and how the Commanders were able to secure getting Adam Peters as our current GM for the foreseeable future, hopefully. I mean, with him being younger than typical GMs are, I'm hoping he's here for at least the next 20 plus years. I'm hoping. But with us bringing him in, there are reports saying that the new Washington GM in Adam Peters will target Lions offensive coordinator Ben Johnson for the head coaching vacancy. Again, after we hired Adam Peters, Josh Harris and company are giving him the keys to pretty much run this whole operation as far as his head coach search goes. Pretty sure other people still have input, like Eugene Shin may have a little bit, Bob Myers, Rick Spielman, Josh Harris himself, maybe a little bit, but this is the Adam Peters show. And for there to be a report saying that he will more than likely target Ben Johnson is crazy. I'm super excited. Does that automatically mean that we'll get him? Not necessarily, but we got to dive into why there's actually a really good chance that we could end up getting Ben Johnson. Don't sleep. Also, the betting odds for us to potentially land Ben Johnson as our head coach have increased again. This is the third time in a week that these odds have increased. And these betting odds, I highly doubt they're just putting this information out there for no reason. There has to be something behind this. There must be smoke somewhere, and when there's smoke, there's fire. Maybe hearing some things behind the scenes. Ben Johnson, of course, just can't come out and say anything about the situation because he's still the offensive coordinator for a playoff team right now. But I'm pretty sure there's probably some stuff going on behind the scenes. People close to him probably know exactly where he wants to land, and we're going to break down why the Commanders should be the spot he would want to land and why I also think that we are the spot. First of all, he has a strong connection to the Commanders already. That's going to be interesting. And then also we got to talk about why he would want to take over and why the Commanders already have some pieces that he can work with to turn us into the next Lions offense, of the 2023 Lions offense, the 2024 Commanders offense, and why we also have capital for him to get whatever he needs to get to also help it turn into the Lions offense. But before we dive into all of that, make sure you stiff arm that like button, stiff arm the subscription button, and stiff arm the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Make sure you stay tuned for all of the content. I know I always say that, but I truly mean it. I'm working on like 2-3 videos a day because there's so much to talk about. Every time there's new news like this or breaking news like I came out with earlier with Adam Peters, it pushes everything back. Like now I'm working on an Adam Peters mock draft. I'll probably do that one tonight. We'll see how that goes. I still have so many other things I need to talk about. All of these different screens have different windows with information in them that I need to talk about. So I'm sorry. Stuff just keeps getting pushed back. I have so much information. Your one-stop shop for the Commanders is right here. Let's go ahead and get to this video, man. Let's get it. All right, so I'm seeing multiple reports. I'm seeing it worded in different ways, but they're all basically saying the same thing. The Commanders are going to try to get Lions offensive coordinator Ben Johnson. NFL rumors worded it as Commanders new GM Adam Peters expected to target Lions offensive coordinator Ben Johnson for a head coaching job. Not very aggressive, just the fact that, hey man, that's one of the names he may be interested in. We'll see. Then you have a 49ers reporter saying all indications are new. Commanders GM Adam Peters is going all in to hire Lions offensive coordinator Ben Johnson as Washington's next head coach. That's completely different. That's different than we will probably target him. He's one of the candidates or anything like that. Going all in is a completely different wordage right there. That's really interesting, man. And then I'm seeing from JPA football, some people in league circles are watching for a potential pairing of Lions offensive coordinator Ben Johnson with newly hired GM Adam Peters for the Commanders. And that was through the source of Jeremy Fowler. But the way that that's worded, it sounds like people around the NFL, like executives, anonymous people, are basically saying, yeah, it's looking like Ben Johnson to the Commanders, if I had to say. Like, I mean, they have no bias towards the Commanders, good or bad, no attachment, no affiliation at all. Just from what they're hearing around the league, from Ben Johnson's side, from Adam Peters' side, or both, who knows? There's just a strong feeling in the background of things right now that Ben Johnson will probably end up landing with the Commanders, which is really interesting. That has me very optimistic about where this whole organization is going, because Ben Johnson is my number one candidate. Bobby Slowick over there for the Texans is in my top 3. Mike McDonald is also in my top 3. I'm going to keep saying it. Remember, Mike McDonald embarrassed both Bobby Slowick and Ben Johnson in the regular season just this 2023 season. Made those two bright, young, prodigy, offensive-minded coordinators look crazy, look silly when he played them. So, hey, if you want a defensive-minded head coach that can destroy the offensive-minded head coach that everybody's looking for, there's your guy. But still, for numerous reasons, and I've already done a full breakdown on Ben Johnson and how he put together this Lions offense in 2023 and why he should be everybody's number one candidate. So that's still my number one candidate, but don't sleep on Bobby Slowick or Mike McDonald. But I'm going to do a whole separate video breaking those 3 down as the top candidates. Stay tuned for that. Also, I mean, just going from Ron Rivera and Martin Mayhew to potentially Ben Johnson and Adam Peters is night and day, dog. That is crazy, man. If we somehow find a way to do that, we would be sky high, man. Our fan base would be on the moon with it, man. We'd be, party every night, man. I'm super excited. Now let's take a look at some odds, because again, like I said before the intro, increased odds are coming in for Ben Johnson to land as our next head coach. From BetOnline AG, now Ben Johnson has 5 out of 7 odds with a negative 140. Bill Belichick is still somehow second, even though several reporters have already said that Bill Belichick is not happening. Not even like unlikely to happen. No, they're saying it's straight up not happening, but he's plus 450. And then everybody else odds are way lower than that. Now, really interesting, Bobby Slowick's odds rose a little bit. Now he's 5-1. Then you have Jim Harbaugh 6-1, Mike McDonald 9-1. So out of the top 5 potential guys, Bill Belichick is the only one that I really just don't want, and also the only one that has already been confirmed that we're not going after. Everybody else are great candidates. Jim Harbaugh isn't in my top 3, but he's cool to sit in my top 5. Then you have Eric Bieniemy, Raheem Morris after that, Mike Vrabel, Dan Quinn, Aaron Glenn, a whole bunch of people. But the main thing I want to emphasize is that Ben Johnson has 5-7. And Bill Belichick is a distant second at 9-2. Nobody's even close. And so also what I'm taking from this, the fact that these odds just came out today after we hired Adam Peters, apparently us hiring Adam Peters makes us even more likely to get Ben Johnson according to these betting odds than before we hired Adam Peters. Again, when we first started doing interviews earlier this week, Ben Johnson was already the top candidate according to betting odds. Then as of yesterday or the day before yesterday, that increased, and then Ben Johnson gained a bigger gap between him at first place and whoever was in second. And then today, after we hired Adam Peters, BetOnline AG had to switch all of their calculations around, and this is now the 3rd increase, which is really interesting, man. It's just going up and up and up right now, and right now he's super favorited. Like nobody else is even close. And then the list goes further than when I stopped at Aaron Glenn. It keeps going and going all the way to Pete Carroll, who's last, 40-1, Todd Monken, 33-1, Mike Tomlin. You have everybody in there. Every potential head coach you can think of is in that list. I just didn't take the time to sit here and read them all. Brian Flores is even in there. Antonio Pierce, all of these guys. But Pete Carroll is dead last, which is interesting. Because honestly, at this point, I feel like Bill Belichick is probably the furthest away, because he's the only one out of this entire list of like 30 coaches that they have literally come out and said, well, at least reporters close to the situation have come out and said, we will not hire him. Not unlikely, we will not. But this is still really interesting. But that also makes me question this list. Like if Bill Belichick is second after reporters have already said we will not be doing that, it makes me question the validity of Ben Johnson being first by far and Bobby Slowick being 3rd, Mike McDonald being 5th. But hopefully there's something there to that. Hopefully the Bill Belichick one is just a miscalculation. Only for that. Everything else is truthful, and only that. I'm going to be ignorant to the situation. I don't care. A man can dream. We ended up with Adam Peters, and people didn't expect that a month ago. I can still dream, man. Now let's talk about the connection and why this is actually quite likely. Well, Rick Spielman, who we brought over, ex-Vikings executive, GM, and all of that type of stuff, he was one of the main people helping Bob Myers, Josh Harris, and all of these guys interview potential GMs like Adam Peters, and also working to shape this organization and build it the right way from the ground up, whole clean sweep and stuff like that. He matters. His opinion strongly matters, and he has another opinion that we're going to talk about in probably a couple of days once the news cycle slows down just a little bit, so I can catch up on the videos that I've already planned on doing, but they just keep getting pushed back. Rick Spielman has a very interesting review and thoughts of one particular player that I know a lot of Commanders fans want, and it also probably increases our chances of getting that player, so stay tuned for that video as well. But Rick Spielman, who has probably a little bit more say-so and power over what's going on with the Commanders than you probably think, his brother is already on staff with the Detroit Lions. And remember, Bob Myers had a strong connection with Adam Peters. So did Martin Mayhew technically as well. And that probably helped us get Adam Peters. So Rick Spielman's brother, I mean, that may not be the end-all be-all and be the main and only reason we end up potentially getting Ben Johnson as a head coach. But it definitely helps. It doesn't hurt. It definitely potentially helps. Rick Spielman's probably over there telling his brother like, hey, man, just put random Commanders merchandise everywhere, like a hat here for no reason, a logo there for no reason. Just randomly say go Commanders, like, and then just call go Commanders. You know what I'm saying? Do whatever you got to do. Random subliminal messaging if you have to. Like, just play random Commanders music or play movies with a random person by a Commander title in it. Do whatever you can to get Ben Johnson thinking Commanders subconsciously. If I were Rick Spielman, that's what I'd be doing, telling my brother, hey, man, just spot me this one, man. I'll have you later. I'll pay you back. But please do what you got to do to help me get Ben Johnson, man. Subliminal messaging, propaganda, everything. We're throwing everything at that guy. We're going to do it at a subconscious, psychological level, if that's what it takes, man. Whenever you next have a conversation with Ben Johnson, just throw in random Commanders and burgundy and gold stuff. Just wear burgundy and gold suit the whole time to get him comfortable and used to let burgundy and gold be a comforting feeling to him, and then that potentially sway him in that direction as well, man. I'll take whatever we could do. If I were in the NFL, those are the type of tactics I would use, man. I'm not gonna sit here and lie, man. This is war. I don't care. Now let's talk about why us. And I already talked about why we would want him and why we should want him in great detail in other videos. I did full breakdowns of how he utilized Sam Laporta, Amon-Ra St. Brown, how he's done things statistically for the first time in NFL history, or the first time in a long time in NFL history with this offense, like running backs, the production they had, the wide receivers, the tight ends, the overall offense, Jared Goff as quarterback. Did a full dive into that in other videos. So I don't want to focus on that this video. I more so want to focus on our end, selling the Commanders to him. Why would he want to come here? That's the focus for the remainder of this video. And so, I mean, if you think about it, he went to UNC, so that's another connection. We already have the Rick Spielman brother connection. Let's also talk about this UNC connection. I mean, he was already joking around with Sam Howell. He seemed to really like him. And if Sam Howell were to look like our franchise quarterback right now, that would only increase our chances of getting him. But also, another UNC quarterback, Drake May, because it's very, very likely the Bears just go ahead and scoop up Caleb Williams, #1 overall. Then we'll have the pick between Drake May and Jaden Daniels. I'm not going to lie, I'm a little bit more of a Jaden Daniels guy myself for second. Drake May, I would still be excited about him as well, but you never know. If we bring in Ben Johnson, we're probably more likely to get Drake May. Or maybe the UNC thing doesn't matter. Maybe he just more so cares about which player that can fit his offense the best. And, you know, we could debate about that. I still have a lot more film to watch. I haven't had the time to truly watch enough college film to get a full, strong opinion on a lot of these prospects, especially these quarterbacks yet. I feel like I still have to watch a lot more Caleb Williams tape, a lot more Jaden Daniels, a lot more Drake May to have a fully developed opinion on these guys. Still have a lot more tape to watch. I'm sorry, I've been busy, man. As a Georgia Bulldog fan, I've been watching a lot of high school tape for this 2024 and 2025 recruiting class, and even some 2026. Now I'm starting to transition back for my Commanders to the college side, so I'm working on these mock drafts and things like that. Just stay patient with me. But I'm going to always be the guy that keeps it a thou wow with y'all. I do not have a strong enough opinion on these guys yet to give my own opinion on who we should draft. Right now, I'm leaning more Caleb Williams 1A, Jaden Daniels 1B, Drake May like a 3 or maybe a 1C. They're pretty close in my opinion so far. We'll see. But you never know. Maybe Ben Johnson prefers Drake May, even outside of just the whole UNC thing. But also at the same time, if you reverse it, if Ben Johnson does end up being our head coach, you can look at it as, well, Drake May is even more likely to be our next quarterback. But if you also want to reverse it back again, with the opportunity to potentially draft Drake May with the number 2 overall pick, maybe that makes this Washington Commanders head coaching vacancy just a little bit more attractive to a Ben Johnson. I mean, just to be able to have a second overall pick, even if Drake May didn't exist, to have a second overall pick to work with to potentially get an elite quarterback, your franchise guy that you drafted. He didn't draft Jared Goff. Jared Goff landed in his lap, and he was like, all right, I'm going to develop an offense that brings out his strengths and hides his weaknesses to the best of my ability. Imagine what Ben Johnson can do with a number 2 overall pick that he hand picks as his quarterback, along with Adam Peters, who is arguably one of the best talent evaluators in the NFL. That's why, and I've been saying it for weeks now, even before we hired Ben Johnson, Adam Peters, I'm trying to speak it into existence, I guess subconsciously. I subliminally messaged myself right there. But even before we hired Adam Peters, even before we potentially end up hiring Ben Johnson as our head coach, I've been saying for a while now, my stance on it, whether you prefer Caleb Williams, Drake May, or Jaden Daniels, at the end of the day, what matters most is that this organization gets the guy they want the most. Don't force it. If you prefer Caleb Williams way more than these other 2 guys, and Caleb Williams gets taken by the Bears, then maybe trade back or something. Don't force it. But for me, I'm just going to already give this organization the benefit of the doubt and assume that whatever quarterback we more than likely end up taking with the number 2 overall pick, they did all of their research, they did all of their homework, all of their scouting, and not only are they picking the right guy, but they already have a plan in place to develop him the right way, to put him in the correct offense that brings out the best in him, especially early on as a rookie, to hide some of his weaknesses and all of that type of stuff, to basically take this quarterback and make him the best him that he can be. I'm just going to give them the benefit of the doubt and assume they have a plan in place, whether we hire Ben Johnson or not. But with Ben Johnson, I just have a little bit more faith in that. But I already have a lot of faith in no matter who our head coach is, no matter who we drafted quarterback, I'm pretty optimistic about it working out either way. But Ben Johnson just increases that optimism. But also from Ben Johnson's point of view, number 2 overall pick to get your quarterback, Terry McLaurin, Jahan Dotson, maybe Curtis Samuel if you re-sign him. That's a really good receiving core potentially. Most cap space in the NFL to work with. And then not only do you have the 2nd overall pick, you have the 36th, the 40th, the 67th, 96th, and the 98th. 6 top 100 picks right there? I mean, 3 top 40 picks is insane. Like, you could really make an immediate impact with that. If you take quarterback 2nd, and even if you don't package the 36th and 40th pick to trade up sooner in the first, like late first round or something like that to get an elite tackle, there will probably still be some really good quality players there later on, like a really good tight end potentially. Remember, they drafted Sam Laporta early in the 2nd round this past draft, the Lions did, with Ben Johnson there. And then, 36th overall, you could probably, one of those tackles could probably still land there, or maybe you could package that 36th pick and one of them day 3 picks to move up to get your elite tackle. Either way, again, I have so much faith in Adam Peters and Ben Johnson to do the right thing here. I'm super excited. And there are also a lot of people out there that feel like Detroit's success is more so owed to how great their offensive line was. And, it's hard to argue against that. You can talk about the weapons, running backs, wide receivers, quarterback, Ben Johnson himself. We could talk about a lot of things, but a lot of people would probably give the majority of the pie, or the biggest slice of the pie, as far as credit for why the Lions offense has been so effective this year, to the O-line. And what I would say to that is that Samuel Cosmi is a great piece to build around, like an elite piece. I felt like he arguably had somewhat of an all-pro year. The problem is he wasn't that great all year, but for like the last 8 weeks of the season, you could argue he was an all-pro guard for us. At the very least, a Pro Bowler. I mean, if you're looking at Pro Football Focus, he was graded the 5th best guard in the NFL. Not just right guard period. It was Chris Lindstrom, Kevin Dotson, Quinn Miners, and John Feliciano. And then it's Samuel Cosmi 5th over Robert Hunt, over Greg Van Roten, Graham Glasgow, Joe Thuney, Tyler Smith, Wyatt Teller, Trey Smith, Tevin Jenkins, Quentin Nelson, a whole bunch of really good players, and most notably Graham Glasgow from the Detroit Lions himself. So you would get an upgrade there. Now, we don't necessarily have a tackle the level of a Penei Sewell yet, but you can draft that guy. And then you already have Samuel Cosme, and I think we have some pretty good talent between Chris Paul and Sadiq Charles. I think we can make left guard work, and then get your right tackle in free agency, and we're cooking with grease right off the bat. Also, if we re-sign Antonio Gibson for cheap, which I believe we probably will, Ben Johnson will have his David Montgomery and Brian Johnson, and his diet Jahmyr Gibbs and Antonio Gibson. If we're talking about pure athleticism and potential, I would put Antonio Gibson up there with Jahmyr Gibbs. Based on what I've seen with the butterfingers and the fumbling and stuff like that, it's hard for me to put his name up there with them. But potential-wise, Antonio Gibson could literally be Jahmyr Gibbs in the Lions 2.0 offense that he brings over here for the 2024 Commanders. Also, I trust the duo of him and Adam Peters as a combination to solve our tight end problem easily. First of all, I like Cole Turner. I feel like he was underutilized by this organization this year under Eric Bieniemy and all of these guys. But even just beyond that, as far as finding the right guy, Adam Peters found George Kittle in the 5th round, and Ben Johnson got an elite tight end season out of a 2nd round rookie in Sam Laporta. Between Adam Peters' talent evaluation and Ben Johnson's development and getting a player involved could be dangerous. So I think Ben Johnson can come here and literally have that same thing he has going with the Lions with us, but if anything, maybe a higher ceiling, because this time he gets to pick his quarterback, potentially an elite quarterback, whereas Jared Goff, solid, good quarterback, but he's not elite. Ben Johnson with an elite quarterback in his offense, just take this Lions offense and add potentially like a Drake May or a Caleb Williams to it, or a Jaden Daniels. I'm telling you, it's something dangerous. I mean, we may even outdo what the Lions did this season. We'll see, man. That's a lot of optimism, but we'll see. But I'm super excited, man. Ben Johnson already turned down the Panthers job last year. When he was interviewed, he had like a press conference like a couple of days ago or yesterday or sometime. They interviewed him and Anthony Glenn and were basically asking him about like how you're currently coaching for a playoff team, but there are all of these teams calling and requesting interviews from you. How do you feel? Anthony Glenn basically said, yeah, I'm gonna do every interview that's requested. I'm gonna talk to everybody just to see. Ben Johnson said, nah, I don't know about talking to everybody. So that means he already has a clear goal of at least one, maybe a couple of teams that he has his eyes on that he may potentially want to land with. And I'm assuming we're one of them for the reasons I've already stated. So I'm super excited because we may get this thing done quickly. Like as soon as Ben Johnson is available for real interviews and in-person interviews and things like that, he may fly out and we may secure that bag just as quickly as we secured the Adams Peters bag. And I'm super excited about that. Again, like I've already explained earlier, Ben Johnson may be like an Adam Peters guy, even though he has a strong connection to Bobby Slowick from the time that Bobby Slowick was a coach for the 49ers for like 5 years. Ben Johnson still seems like he may be an Adam Peters guy, and I think they could work together so well to turn this organization around. You know how much credit they will receive? You know how low the bar is? And for them to come in and to turn this organization around, I'm hoping we can do something similar to the Texans. 2nd overall pick to win in the division, or at the very least 2nd overall pick to go into the playoffs. How about we do that in 2024? And if there were any combination of front office and coaches that I believe can get that out of the Commanders within 1 year, it's Adam Peters and Ben Johnson. But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Please get in the comment section. Let me know how you feel about everything discussed in this video. Please stiff arm that like button, stiff arm the subscription button, and stiff arm the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Let me know how you feel about this whole Ben Johnson situation. Is he your #1 candidate? If he's not, let me know who it is and why. Let me know if you agree with me, disagree with me, everything, because again, my goal is always to become a smarter football fan first and foremost. So if you disagree with me, maybe I'm wrong. Let me know why and all of that type of stuff. I try to see everybody's point of view and everything. I am not offended. So please let me know how y'all feel about everything discussed in this video in the comment section. Again, I'm trying my best to try to read and reply to everything, but I'm super busy. I'm already about to start working on my 3rd video immediately after that. So stay tuned. My 3rd video just tonight alone, today alone. Stay tuned. Catch y'all later. I'm out, man. Go become a channel member if you haven't. Exclusive content coming for y'all, especially draft stuff.